What's going on, MMA fans? I'm back to do my UFC 103 Franklin vs. Belfort predictions, taking place from the American Airlines Center from Dallas, Texas, this Saturday. Of course, make sure you tune in at 9 p.m. on Spike for the prelims. My apologies about not having a fight night prediction video up. Just school's been killing me, and then on top of that, being sick. But anyways, this should be a decent night of fights. Going to work my way from the bottom of the main card way to the top like I normally do. First fight of the night, Tyson Griffin taking on Hermes Franca. Tyson Griffin training out of Extreme Couture. Good wrestler, good cardio, very, very explosive. Has really improved with his hands as far as his boxing skills and using good combinations. Being able to employ good game plans. He's got pretty good submission defense on the ground as well. He's taking on Hermes Franca, who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Decent wrestler, has an unorthodox striking style when he does exchange, even though he does have knockout power in his hands. In this fight, I think that Tyson Griffin is more than likely going to try to keep this standing, avoid this fight going down to the ground. He's a good wrestler. He has good takedown defense. He's probably going to try to, use some leg kicks, try to keep Hermes Franca guessing and not being able to set up and reset in the pocket. I think Tyson Griffin will probably, use good 1-2 combinations as well as with the leg kicks and probably win a unanimous decision in this one. So my pick is going to be Tyson Griffin via unanimous decision. All right, next fight. This should be an interesting one. Josh Koscheck taking on Frank Trigg. Josh Koscheck training out of AKA. Division I wrestler, improved hands, good cardio, very explosive, has good submission defense on the ground, has really stepped it up with his combinations and how he looks as far as his striking. His boxing skills have really gotten good. He's employed some time and effort in his kickboxing as well. That vicious knockout of Yoshiyuki Yoshida just goes to show that he's coming along and improving little by little, even though there are some things he needs to work on. He's taking on Frank Trigg, who's training out of Extreme Couture. Of course, this is Frank Trigg's comeback to the UFC. Solid wrestler, good hands, judo black belt. Has had cardio issues in the past, but it looks like he's tried to, change that around with putting in some more time and effort. And he's a pretty good grappler on the ground. In this fight, I think that Josh Koscheck, everything that Frank Trigg, I think that he's good at, Josh Koscheck is better. I think that Koscheck is the better wrestler. I think he's more explosive. I think he's got maybe not the better hands, but I think he's a little bit more diverse in his striking as far as mixing it up with his leg kicks. He's definitely going to have, I think, the better cardio, and I think he'll be more explosive. So I think that Koscheck will be able to control the pace on the feet. If this fight does go down to the ground, I think he can out-wrestle Frank Trigg. Koscheck was able to put George St. Pierre on his back for a short amount of time, and we don't see GSP put on his back very often. So I think Koscheck will be able to control the pace on the feet, and if it goes to the ground, he'll be able to control it there as well, and I think he takes a unanimous decision, so that's my pick. All right, next fight, Martin Kampmann taking on Paul Daly. Of course, Paul Daly is the late replacement for Mike Swick. Martin Kampmann training out of Extreme Couture. Good striker, good clinch, decent wrestling, very good grapple on the ground. Is very underrated there. He's taking on Paul Daly, who's training out of Team Roughhouse in the Voss Gym. He's got solid hands, knockout power in both of his hands. Decent wrestling, but has really run into problems in the past with his submission defense. Of course, is a veteran of Elite XC, Strike Force, and of course Cage Rage. Both these guys are very, very good on the feet. Martin Kampmann is a good striker. He's very, very good in the clinch. Has, I think, probably better kickboxing. And he, you could make the argument that he has the more solid and crisper striking, even though Paul Daly does have some good boxing skills. Paul Daly, if he wanted to, could probably, exchange very well with Martin Kampmann, and last there. But more than likely, Martin Kampmann's going to use his footwork and use the combinations to set up a takedown, try to get this fight down to the ground and look for a submission attempt, since, like I said, Paul Daly's had serious issues with that in the past. And I'm sure that, coming out of Extreme Couture, that'll be somewhat of a game plan they're going to look to try to, implore. I think Kampmann will be able to get it down, probably, early in the the first, work some ground and pound. He'll probably get stood back up. I think he'll get it down and actually catch a submission early second, middle second, and finish it. So I'm going to pick Martin Kampmann via a second-round submission. All right, on to the co-main event, Mirko Cro Cop taking on Junior Dos Santos. Mirko Cro Cop training out of the Cro Cop Squad Gym. Good striker. Has some highlight reel knockouts with his high kicks, left high kicks. You can look at Wanderlei Silva, which is a perfect example, Alexander Emelianenko. Go back and look at any of those knockouts. He's got good takedown defense, good sub defense as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, but primarily he uses his Jiu-Jitsu in a defensive posture. He's taking on Junior Dos Santos, who's training out of Team Nogueira. He's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Very, very good hands, very good boxing skills. Knockout power in both of his hands. Good grappler on the ground. I've gone back and forth on this fight, and I've tried to figure out what I could possibly see happening here. But every time I play it through in my head, the stylistic matchup, I see Cro Cop taking this, and I'll try to explain why. Dos Santos, in a majority of his fights, has shown a deficiency in being able to not only take leg kicks, but throw leg kicks. Verdun was able to kind of pick him apart for a little bit on the feet and catch those inside leg kicks and outside leg kicks, kind of disrupting Dos Santos's footwork and being comfortable in the pocket. If he allows Mirko Cro Cop to do that and use leg kicks and set up combinations, Junior Dos Santos is going to be in for a long night. With that being said, Junior Dos Santos could get this down to the ground, even though Cro Cop has shown improved takedown defense, not only in the past, but even recently up to this point. My gut and the way that I see this fight playing out, I've got to take Mirko Cro Cop in this one. I think he'll be able to keep this on the feet. And more importantly, I don't see Dos Santos throwing or being able to take leg kicks. That's going to be the key factor in this fight. If Cro Cop is able to do that and use that game plan and disrupt Dos Santos's boxing, I think Cro Cop's going to take this. I'm going to say Mirko Cro Cop takes a late third-round stoppage via TKO, so that is my pick. All right, on to the main event. Rich Franklin taking on Vitor Belfort. Rich Franklin training out of Team Extreme, AMC. He's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Good striker, good kickboxer. Uses very, very good footwork, good game planning to be able to move in and out of the pocket, kind of disrupt guys, kind of throw them off. He's got good takedown defense, good clinch. An underrated grappler on the ground. He's taking on Vitor Belfort, who is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Very, very good hands. You could argue that he's probably, in the top 10 in the MMA scene as far as, good boxing skills. He's really, really quick. He's really, improved cutting down to 185. I think that has really been a place that he should have been all along. He's got good cardio. Even though he has had issues with that in the past, it looks like he has ramped that up. In this fight, Rich Franklin could, this fight could go one of two ways. Rich Franklin could use a very good game plan, instilling leg kicks, combinations, picking apart Vitor Belfort, resetting, and just picking apart Vitor, I think, for 3 rounds. Or we could see Vitor catch Rich Franklin in a combination and an exchange, similar to what we saw, in several fights that Rich has been in, not only with Anderson Silva, Dan Henderson, Wanderlei Silva. All these guys have given Rich problems when they've exchanged with him. If this fight goes the distance and goes later into the rounds, Rich does have an advantage there. But if this fight has some exchanges, I think Vitor will catch Rich. At some point, and if he does, he's one of the best finishers in MMA. And I think he will take this fight. So that is going to be my pick. I'm going to say Vitor Belfort takes a second-round TKO, wins the fight, and continues his move down to middleweight at 185. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Nonetheless, make sure to come back the night of or the night after for my review. Check out my sponsors on the description side. And on that note, you guys, have a great day.